What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to have a look at the top 10 defenders that I think you should consider owning for Game Week 1. So let's get into them. So welcome back to another video. As I mentioned, I'm going to go through my top FPL defenders that I think you should consider owning for Game Week 1. This is going to be at a variety of price points, a variety of different teams. So hopefully there are some in here that you've thought about or maybe haven't thought about that can fit your team structure. It will be part of a 3-part series this week with defenders, midfielders and forwards all coming out. So if you haven't watched the other two, make sure you go and do so. So let's get straight into them, and we're going to start with a few notable mention of players that I considered I wanted to include in this video that didn't quite make it. So the first one is TARGETT of Aston Villa. I think at 5 million, given the way Aston Villa performed defensively for the majority of last season, he's a nice asset to own. And given the first 3 fixtures in particular, Watford away, Newcastle at home and Brentford, it's definitely a good time to consider owning TARGETT. For me, he's the best of the Aston Villa defenders, the most attacking of them, and takes some set pieces as well, which is why TARGETT is in here over the likes of Mings, Kwanzaa or Matty Cash. The next one is Zinchenko of Manchester City. Now, it isn't quite certain who's going to start in the left and right back positions for Manchester City, so you could put Ruben Diaz in here. However, I feel that Zinchenko will be the first choice left back at Manchester City this season. He's performed very well when he's been given the chance. He was picked to play the Champions League final as well, so I do expect more to come from Zinchenko this season, but at 5.5 and just that bit of rotation, I couldn't quite fit him into my top 10. And third of all is highly owned Fofana of Leicester. Now, a great set of fixtures. I expect him to score points early on, but we'll get into maybe having a Leicester defender in my top 10 that isn't Fofana, just because he's only clean sheet potential and they did concede a few goals at the end of last season. So I do like my defenders to have attacking threat on top of those clean sheets, which is why Fofana isn't in my top 10, but he was very close and almost made it in for sure. So diving into them, these are in no particular order, but just at a variety of price points, so we jump in and out of the premiums. The first one we have is Ben Chilwell of Chelsea, who comes in at 6 million. So last season, Chilwell returned for over 5 points per start, which is a really good return, even now at 6 million. He plays for the best defence in the league. So since Thomas Tuchel took over from Frank Lampard at Chelsea, no team has conceded less goals and less expected goals than Chelsea have. And he's a very attacking wing-back, so we play in that left-hand side, that left wing-back role, it seems most likely. They may go to a 4 at the back, but he'll still be the first choice left-back. So he gets up and down that left-hand side, occasionally taking set pieces, but it's more his threat, both for assists and from goals from open play. Now, the opening 6 fixtures can look a bit difficult. Arsenal, Tottenham, Liverpool, Man City all in there, but Crystal Palace and Aston Villa at home are definitely fixtures that we could see Chilwell getting returns in. And given how strong Chelsea are defensively, there is quite a possibility for a clean sheet in a couple of those harder fixtures. So even though those are a bit more difficult, we have to remember how good Chelsea were defensively at the end of last season, which is why Chilwell is definitely a player I'm considering owning for Game Week 1. And then after Game Week 6, when the fixtures get even easier, I will definitely consider and will likely bring Chilwell into my team. Next on the list, we have Trent Alexander-Arnold of Liverpool. Now, we couldn't go the best defenders in the league without having Trent in there. 4.65 points per start last season wasn't actually as much as some of the others. So Chilwell, for example, had more points per start, but that's because there were a lot of injuries in the Liverpool defence for the likes of Van Dijk, Gomez, Trent at times. Robertson on the left-hand side was fit for most of the season, but they had a lot of different centre-back pairings. Now, next season, going into the start of the season, everyone should be back fit. They've made new signings at centre-back. Fabinho will be back in defensive midfield, which means I think they'll be even stronger defensively, so those clean sheet points will go up. But what this means is that it will allow Trent and Robertson to be even more attacking, because they can now rely on those 2 centre-backs a bit more. Whereas when they had the likes of Phillips in there with Fabinho, Trent and Robertson had to defend and they didn't have that free licence to attack. But I think Trent will now get up that right-hand side back to what we've usually seen from him. And given their opening 6 fixtures, including Norwich, Burnley, Brentford, Crystal Palace, Leeds, there's definitely a points coming here for Trent. So I really like him as an option. I think a lot of people are going to own him. I definitely will come Game Week 1. Third on the list of my top 10 defenders is going to be a 4.5 defender in Aït-Nouri of Wolves. Now, in the pre-season game on Saturday, Aït-Nouri actually played left midfield for Wolves, so it's worth keeping an eye out whether he's going to play left back or even left midfield. And as if he is playing in midfield, then that's going to be an even better price for him. Now, he got about 3.06 points per start, which wasn't that great. Wolves were quite shaky defensively at the end of last season, but we definitely know what they are capable of. He is very attacking, and the new manager loves his left and right backs. If you look at the previous stats for Porto, the left and right back often are getting forward and they're often involved in the goals. I hope that Wolves are a bit more defensively sound than they were at parts of last season, but a good opening 3 fixtures from game week 4 onwards with Watford, Brentford, Southampton. And so if you can find a place in your team, for example, playing Fofana in your team or playing Lamptey in your team, other 4.5 defenders, and have Aït-Nouri ready to come into your team for game week 4, whether he's playing left back or left mid, I think he's got a lot of potential for us this season at just 4.5 million. Next up on the list is another 4.5 defender in Luke Ayling from Leeds. Now, he only returned 2.63 points per start last season, but this is because he was really unlucky. He had a lot of attacking return potential, but didn't ever cross the line with it, putting crosses into the box, creating big chances, having goal threat as well, but never quite got those attacking returns, and he actually got 0 goals and 0 assists last season. But this is why he's only remained at 4.5 million and not got a price rise, which means I actually think Ayling is therefore a really nice option this season. And in 2021, so since the turn of the year, no team conceded less goals at home than Leeds. So even with Chelsea being good defensively, Man City as well, no team at home in particular conceded more goals than Leeds. So I think this is a really nice option for Ayling to be a good 4.5 defender, particularly with some of their home fixtures. If you look at their first 6 fixtures that they have, there's definitely potential for Ayling to get us some returns. So game week 2, Everton at home, I really like, and game week 6, West Ham at home. So those home fixtures that we have for Leeds, I do quite like. But then this is also combined with some potentially easy away fixtures as well. So Burnley away and Newcastle away. So in those 4, particularly game weeks 2 and 3 and 5 and 6, I think there's some really nice returns here for Ayling, both from a clean sheet potential, but also adding that attacking threat on the top. So if you could rotate him in game weeks 1 and game weeks 4 when he plays Manchester United and Liverpool, as a lot of us do with these 4.5 defenders, then I really like what Luke Ayling can offer in those other 4 matches that he has. Next up on the list is another 4.5 defender from Brighton in Lamptey. Now, Lamptey did spend most of the second half of the season injured, which is why it's quite hard to judge exactly the potential he could have reached. But from what we saw from him in the first sort of 11-12 game weeks, he definitely has a lot of potential, and I feel like we're quite lucky that he's remained at 4.5 million and not had a price rise up to 5 million. He got 3.18 points per start. This is because when he was in the team, Brighton weren't quite as solid defensively as potentially they were in the second half of the season. However, he did get 4 attacking returns in the 11 starts he makes, which is under 1 every 3 matches, which is a great return for any defender. If Trent did that, we'd be happy, let alone a 4.5 defender. And to add on to this, Brighton have definitely improved their defensive form. So Lamptey coming back into that side, bombing down that right-hand side, as well as having a really strong defence and goalkeeper behind him, means I think he has the potential to be this year's Stuart Dallas and just get attacking returns and clean sheets and be a mainstay in our team almost every game week. On top of that, Brighton have some great fixtures as well. So Burnley, Watford, Everton, Brentford and Crystal Palace, as well as Leicester at home, which is okay in game week 5, means that I just think Lamptey is an incredible option to go with for the start of the season. I don't own him at the moment because I've gone with Sanchez in goal in my current draft. However, the more I talk about it and the more I think about it, I think Lamptey is a great option and he'll only see his price go up and up as the season progresses. So Lamptey at 4.5 is probably my number 1 4.5 option for this season. Next up in the list is a 5.0 million defender in Reguilón of Tottenham. Now, bear with me. I know people have thought Tottenham defenders, they haven't had that much in previous seasons, but I think Reguilón being priced at 5 million has a lot of potential for us. Last season, he returned just 3.38 points per start, which isn't that many, and that's because they didn't keep nearly as many clean sheets as we would have expected. However, in the new system under Nuno, we don't quite know whether they'll play 4 or 5 at the back. So there is a possibility possibility that he could be playing at wing back, which would make him an even better asset. But still playing at left back, I think he's worth considering. Last season for Tottenham, he got an assist every 4 starts, which is a really nice return for 5 million for a defender. And if they can add that defensive solidarity on top of it that we've seen from Wolves sides under Nuno in the past, whether they've played a 5 or a 4 at the back, there is a lot of potential for Reguilón to combine both of these things and be a really nice asset. Given their opening fixtures as well, Wolves away, Watford at home and Crystal Palace in 3 of the first 4 fixtures, there's a lot of potential here, I think, for those clean sheets for Tottenham to start the season strongly, to get a few points in the bag and particularly improve their defensive form compared to what it was last season. So yes, he didn't do that well last season, but 5 million is a very nice price for him. If it was 5.5, I understand the likes of Luca Dean, Shaw and others up at that price would probably be a better alternative. But at just 5 million, I think he's a really nice option to own. And if they can improve their defensive form under Nuno, which is probably expected to do so, then given his attacking threat and what he's shown, he could be an absolute bargain this season. Next up on the list, we have our Leicester defender. So I spoke a little bit at the start about I didn't have Fofana in my team. And the reason for it is Castagna is the Leicester defender that I've gone with. 5.5 million, so you are playing 1 million more than you would get with Fofana. However, it is that attacking threat that Castagna brought. At the end of last season, there were a lot of us owning Castagna because of the attacking threat he had, getting assists and goals, getting very far forward, whether he played left back or right back or wing back or wherever he wanted to play. So I think 5.5 million, that £1 million price difference is definitely justified. With everyone having the likes of Dean and Shaw in their teams, I think Castagna's gone under the radar a little bit. He got 6 attacking returns in 27 starts last season, which is 1 in just over every 4 matches, which is still a really good return. Particularly hit the ground running at the start of the season and at the end. So if he can continue that form that we saw from him at the end of the season, then at 5.5 million, I think he's a really nice pick and a good differential as well. On top of that, they have some great fixtures to start the season. So Wolves at home, West Ham away, okay, it's maybe slightly more difficult, but then Norwich, Brighton and Burnley from game weeks 3 to 6 is really nice. If you are looking for a bit of a differential or you're not really worried about ownership in general, I think Castagna at 5.5 million is a really nice option. Clean sheet potential, and we know what he can do going forward with assists and goals as well, as we saw last season. So 5.5 million Castagna I really like as a Leicester option. Next up is Luca Dean of Everton. So last season, he's a player that we've talked about a lot already in pre-season. He got 4.0 points per start, but it's worth considering what position he'll be playing this season. So he could be at left back, or we do know that Rafa Benitez often plays a 5 at the back system, which would put Luca Dean at left wing back, which would make him an even better option than he already is. Last season, he got 9 assists, and this is about 1 every 3 starts that he played. So this is a great return, and the defensive form that we have seen from them, particularly away from home last season, but generally they had patches of very good defensive form. And if you can continue those assists on top of that, I think at 5.5 he could be a great option. They also have a very nice start to the season, no sort of red fixture in any of their first 6, and it continued forwards to game week 10 as well. So Southampton at home, Burnley at home, Norwich at home, and then slightly harder away fixtures, Leeds away, Villa away, and then Brighton away. But there's definitely potential for clean sheets, and we know that Luca Dean can add those assists on top of it. So 5.5 million, if you don't have him already, I would highly consider owning him. Just before we dive into the remaining few, I just want to point out that 70% of viewers are not subscribed. If even half of those on one of my videos hit the subscribe button, it would really catapult me towards 10,000. So if you are enjoying the video, please smash that subscribe button. Moving on to the next defender now is Coufal at 5 million. So last season he played at right back, right wing back for West Ham, and he should continue to do so. There's no reason for us to expect him to do anything different. Cresswell has been improved in terms of his price up to 5.5 million, which makes Coufal at 0.5 less a really nice option. He got 9 assists last season, but particularly came into his own at the end of the season where he got 5 assists in the last 10 game weeks, bombing up that right hand side and putting a lot of crosses into the box. Pretty much as soon as he got the ball on that right hand side, the ball went into the box, and with Antonio coming back from fitness, Souček in the middle as well, there is a lot of potential for those to be headed into the back of the net. There are also some nice fixtures to start the season, so Newcastle game week 1, Crystal Palace game week 3, but we did see West Ham being capable of keeping about any team out. So even Southampton, Leeds in game week 4 and 6, even though they're away from home, there's a lot of potential for Soufal to get clean sheets and the attacking returns we saw from him. So at 5 million, I think he's a really nice option given the price of some of those others at 5.5, plus the fact that you could save $500,000 and go with Soufal. Really nice and a good set of opening fixtures, so he can hopefully continue some of that form we saw at the end of last season. Now, moving on to the final pick of the video is Luke Shaw. If you haven't joined the league code just below, make sure you go and do so. There are prizes every month and there is a link in the description which will automatically join you into that league. So Shaw, 5.5 million, had a great Euros tournament and continued the form we saw from him in the league, continued that into the Euros, and hopefully he brings that to the start of next season as well. 4.07 points per start is a good return, but we definitely think that Man U, if they're going to sign a centre-back, which it looks likely to do, whether it's Varane or whether it's someone else, that their clean sheet potential will go up, with Henderson now becoming their number 1, with their defence becoming a bit more solidified, their clean sheet return should go up. And with Shaw, he got 6 attacking returns in 30 starts last season, so that's about 1 every 5, but he definitely in the second half of the season came into his own, and there was a lot of potential for him to improve on those numbers, to boost that up to 1 every sort of 4 games, 3 games that we've seen from some of the others. So with that clean sheet potential and the attacking threat that he has, given the opening fixtures, Leeds at home, Southampton, Wolves, Newcastle, West Ham, Aston Villa, I think there's a lot of potential for Shaw to get some points at this start of the season. So 5.5 million, he's in my team at the moment and I will likely start game week 1 with him. So those are my top 10 defenders, as well as a few players who nearly made it in. If you are considering defenders that aren't on this list, drop them in the comments down below, or if you have any general questions about your team, please do the same. Make sure to like the video and subscribe for future videos. As always, there are 3 videos coming every single week before the start of the season, and plenty more to come as well. So I hope you've enjoyed. That's all we've got time for, and I'll see you all very soon.